Hello, and welcome back welcome to our little podcast here. It's all about voice acting. My name is Matthew, and we've got our co-host here named Tyler.
Hello.
Now, today I think we're going to talk about stuff.
I would be scared if we were not.
Today, I believe we're going to talk about breathing techniques, the difference of recording an audiobook versus just reading aloud, and then just a lot of things that we have learned along the way of
Yeah, part of the craft is the character, for sure. And we will make it happen over the next little while here on Two Voices, One Mic. So,
yeah.
breathing.
So I had a big problem with this where I would be like, I'd read a few sentences and I'd go like just to like get all that air so I could like do another sentence or another few sentences. But it's a lot better to just take an extra half a second to like, instead of the fast inhale, just like a slower, more gradual. Because it's just kind of jarring when you're listening to someone and they're reading and they're like, once upon a time, I don't know how to explain it, but you definitely, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the goal of all of it is just what the listener's going to hear and what their experience is like. And your goal is obviously not to pass out or asphyxiate or anything crazy. You got to keep breathing to get it done. So it's just a matter of knowing how and when and where to breathe and being sensitive to your listener and its effect on that overall production.
Yeah, that's a great point. But what I was doing where like, taking those big breaths, it seems like it's a problem that a lot of people have because I like watched some YouTube videos about it. Yeah, you just want it to sound natural. I don't edit out any of my breathing because people breathe.
Right. Well, I think it's important not only to just kind of think about it and be aware of it, but maybe do a little practicing. Some people have the kind of talent where they can just hop in and they already feel it. It's intuitive. I mean, breathing's pretty intuitive for most people. Surprising. Get in front of your mic. Do a quick 5-minute dry run and figure out how you work, because you will think about it. You'll look at things and you'll be like, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's easy. And then you actually get there and you're like, oh, this is actually a little bit more, or this is a little different than, what I thought. And I think a lot of modern editing techniques do make it nice because you can make a sound profile and you can edit out the noise in the background if you want. And that's pretty handy, but it's not going to edit out something when you're trying to inhale a gallon of air through a straw.
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. So I would be like, if you're planning to explore or settle in Bear Lake, California, How to Expert Guide, the Big Bear Lake is your ultimate resource. That heavy breath, but instead now I'm saying, this guide provides everything you need to fully experience one of Southern California's top mountain destinations. And then I inhaled right there, but it wasn't as jarring.
Right. It's important to have timing. I think, like you said, you want to cover a thought or a point. If you're reading and you're doing work for professional stuff, you want to get through that step of the instructions and then breathe in. If you're doing a book and you're doing narration, you want to go through that particular chunk. Maybe you can get through a paragraph, maybe you just need a sentence or two, but yeah, do it at, that's why commas exist. Those punctuation marks exist.
Yeah,
so
100%.
that we can have that time. I think another thing that people really worry about is their time frame. They get really crunched. I felt it a lot in my first couple audiobooks. I was kind of hurrying, and a lot of people don't really understand how powerful silence can be and how often taking a moment can be. Because if I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm telling you all this and I'm going as fast as I can, I'm just trying to get through the point and I'm just trying to tell you that, oh my gosh, you're getting overloaded. But if I stop and I take my time, and you, as the listener, are listening, look how quickly you can pull the attention.
100%. Yeah,
And
my first quite a few auditions, I wouldn't say speed running through it. I just didn't understand at that point that, like, it's different to just like read aloud than to like paint that picture in someone's mind of the story. But yeah, silence, commas, like all that stuff is extremely important. And not saying as much as I'm saying right now. So don't say a bunch.
that's an interesting point. We refer to that in the psychological field, at least, as paralanguage. Like, you know, it's basically your brain's version of a loading screen, and it's something you get taught when you're being educated as a communicator. That anytime you feel the urge to say that kind of stuff, just say nothing. And it surprises. It's very difficult when you first start practicing.
It's I mean, it's very difficult.
You're like
Just
smacking
kidding.
yourself in the face, pinching your nose, and you're just like, why do I
Yeah.
do these things? I'm so
Or
bad
like
at this.
those people have like do like rubber bands and like snap it, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They
totally.
like they say and they're like
You're
no,
like,
I
okay,
would never record an audio book where I said I would that would be awful.
can you imagine?
It would be so terrible.
Yeah,
Well, at least I mean you have the transcript or the book in front of you, so there's no reason why you would say you
true.
know.
True. Unless, I mean, there are times where you're given a script and you're doing like a commercial for a radio station or a reading like that does kind of give you a little bit of flex. And they say, well, just ad lib it, just go through it and just give it your zing.
Yeah. Give it your own
Okay,
little twist.
sweet.
So I'm going to read like a paragraph here and really use that punctuation. So,
Read it, read it.
did you know that pickleball, a sport that began as a family backyard pastime, is now one of the fastest growing sports in America? Every day, people from all walks of life discover the joys of this unique game that blends elements of tennis, badminton, and table tennis into one dynamic, engaging sport. Whether you're a teenager looking for a fun way to stay active or a retiree seeking to keep your reflexes sharp, pickleball has something to offer.
Not bad, not bad.
Not great, but not bad. You gotta like what you're reading too. That's kind of a big thing.
It helps. It helps. Unfortunately, one of the great cruxes of the profession is you're not going to all the time. I have
I
caught
feel like
myself.
most of the time you don't. Most of the time I don't like what I'm reading.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's way easier to sell a product that you believe in, and that's essentially what we create. Our voice is a product, and if someone gives you something that you're not really into, well, tough buttons. You've got to be in it, and you got to put your best forward. I wanted to point out one thing for the breathing stuff. Some mics are a lot more sensitive than others, which again, do a dry run, get your toes wet, see how your equipment functions, see how you function when you're using your equipment. Because some people, like this mic right here, I can get away with being fairly close when I do my inhales. But on other mics, I will literally just and then come back. So that way, it's not even in the diaphragm of the sound that it's picking up. So directional mics specifically are pretty easy to work that kind of a thing with. And even you don't even have to like pull yourself way away. You can just kind of like you're turning to spit in the middle of the misery.
Now I was doing that too, where I would kind of like take my breath over there, but now I'm just getting better at like doing a silent inhale or silent enough inhale that my noise gate will negate it. Gate
I see what you
negate.
did there.
Yeah, that was clever.
So that's borderline. Also, one thing to kind of pay attention to when you are figuring out your own style and how you work, do you breathe through your mouth or do you breathe through your nose? Again, lots of ways to skin the cat here, but it's a lot easier to breathe in through your mouth, obviously, when it's already open. Now, there are some people that will come out and be like, hey, your nose is always open, idiot. Okay, I get that. You probably shouldn't be recording if you've got a stuffy nose and stuff. So your nose probably is open, but there's times
Yo, idiot, your
It's
nose is
times.
always open. Not when I'm
Same.
wearing one of those swimming things, Like, when you go swimming and you clamping your nose.
I have a deviated septum. Leave me alone.
No, I had a character in one of my books where I plug my nose for the voice.
You had
So
a code.
my nose was not open during that.
Well, just pay attention to where you're breathing from, where you'd like to, because I personally feel like breathing in my nose is something that is a lot less detectable when I'm
Yeah, I
recording.
would
If
agree
I
with that.
and then go in rather than if I'm like
Trying to choke down the mic.
exactly. That's why I get really. I mean, you get better reviews trying to choke down the mic, I guess, but it's gonna impact your listeners' experience, and that's what it's really all about. This is all for our listeners. We are, acting of any kind is a giving business, and you really have to give your most to it. That's just why we go to all these weird extremes to figure it out and figure out what works nicely.
I completely agree. And I'm fully on board with making a fool of myself if someone enjoys it,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes
Absolutely.
any sense.
Yeah, we enjoy it when you enjoy it, folks. That's how it goes. That's why we're in the business. The whole being paid thing, trust me, it's secondary.
Or third or fourth in dairy.
Wherever, yeah.
I think I just coined a new term.
That or we just discovered you have a speech impediment. You're joining us now. We are fourth and dairy at the 32-yard line.
So, what else have you learned? Or I guess that was like you had a different mindset before you went into recording, like your first book, say, like your first book, and then like what are things you found out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so getting in, I would say I felt like I could just read out loud like I did in school when my teachers would pick me to read, or rather when I'm like reading alone, because maybe I'm crazy, I'm not sure, but I have the voice in my mind that's talking while I'm reading.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm not equipped to argue against that, so no. No, so I mean, you translate that. There's this kind of a bias that goes on. That's a bit of a cognitive bias. If I experience it the way I experience it, then obviously everybody else will. So when you get in there and you start doing your first readings or your first run throughs and such, you start noticing that you have to. And I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but you have to put a little bit more effort in, a little bit more energy in than you would at baseline. Because at baseline, we're just talking, and we can be expressive, but if you're getting into a character, the character's the character. And you have to emulate their stuff. And in order to make it so that it doesn't appear blasé and ineffectual to connect with the person that's paying attention, you want to put some soul into it.
What if you don't have a soul?
Put someone else's, get a couple binding sigils.
Just pretend you have one.
You've got to have a lot of friends that are black and have feathers.
Well, and then another thing, as far as just the audition process goes, because we both use the same website called ACX, Alpha Charlie X-Ray. ACX, yes, I know the NATO phonetic alphabet. Worked at call centers. But anyway, typically they're going to be about 2 to 3 minutes long. Not always. The auditions are not always 2 to 3 minutes long.
You wish they were always 2 to 3 minutes long.
Oh, I know. I've had some that are like 15 minutes and the book is like 30 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I reading half of your book for you?
You're like, are you just stealing this and recording it and just using it? You cheating naughty
Yeah,
words I can't use on the stream.
I know, right?
You scurvy knave, how dare you?
Yeah. And then a lot of times also, like, I've had where I try and pull up the audition script and it's just the whole book. like literally the whole book. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just read 2 to 3 minutes, of a section of it. And then I'm going to message that author and say, you did not tell me. I mean, I'll put it in a nice way, but I'm like, you didn't tell me exactly what to read. And I'm not going to read 45 minutes for you. Like, you should be able to tell in a couple minutes if you want me or not.
Most people can tell if they want you or if you're right for a part within 60 seconds. And let's be honest, our time is valuable. We've got other auditions to hit up. We've got other people that want us to do work. We've got other work that we have to do. So you shouldn't be doing auditions that are, in my opinion, longer than 2 to 5 minutes at most.
The only time I would do a really long audition is if there was a high PFH, which is per finished hour. So if I were paid a lot, say if I were auditioning for a book that was paying $300-400 per finished hour and the audition was 7 minutes long, I would do that audition because there's a lot of chance to make good money.
Right. I feel like that's something that is pertinent to the mid-level production that you would want to get into. Higher level productions will give you a script and you're going to read what they give you. They're not going to drown you in it because higher level productions, you're working with people that have experience. But if you're just entry level and if you're just barely getting your first auditions in there, don't let somebody con you into a 20-minute audition just for them to say no. They're going to know what you've got within, again, 60 seconds. The brain has made its mind up. We judge as humans. We judge. It's a natural behavior that we learn to keep ourselves safe. Fire hot, saber-toothed tiger bad. I don't live if I jump off cliff. We make these judgments really quick. So people will know very, very quickly if you have the talent, if you have the right voice or what they're looking for, and if you can speak and read appropriately.
Well, just touching on like the right voice that you mentioned, I'll ask the author after they've like hired me to do their book, and I'm like, so just for my own edification, why did you choose me? And it's because the voice in their head that they're envisioning was close enough to my voice,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, because when you read a book, you have a voice in your head, or if you write a book, you have a voice in your head of how that character should sound. And you can be a great narrator or whatever, but if that's not the voice that the author is looking for, you're not the person they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And don't take it personally. People are looking for the right person, and if you're not it, we're dealing with the law of averages. Just make another audition, send another one in. Don't quit. Keep going. You'll find the right thing for you, and it'll happen when it happens. And all you got to do is just put yourself out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not salty at all that, like, you got to book your first audition, and it took me like 65 auditions to get a book. I'm not salty about that. But I'm also the one that said, hey, Tyler, you should do this.
This is true. You were the one to be like, why the hell are you not doing audibles yet?
Yeah.
So,
But
in a sense, that makes you kind of sensei.
yeah, sensei that sucks worse, but, No, but like you said, it's a law of average, and that's how it was. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna keep going until I get a yes, because I know I will. I know I will eventually get. If you keep getting up and you keep trying, you're gonna succeed eventually. And then after I got my first book, it was like boom, another one, another one, another one, another. Maybe it just built my confidence a lot, getting that first one. So then my audition sounded better. But yeah.
I believe that is a part of it. I also think that you start to hone your style, and as practice and as time goes by, you start getting better and better and better at it, and you become more of a performer and less of a narrator. I hate it when people are like, do you do narration? And I say, no, I perform. Because I want
I
you to
like
be
to think of it as a storyteller. And human history, there have been storytellers forever.
Yeah.
People sitting around fires and telling stories about the stars and whatnot. And, there was that one guy that did it the best, right?
Yeah,
And
totally.
everyone would sit and listen to him talk. So that's kind of how I think of it as storytelling and performing. Because I honestly, I don't read all my free time. Like I know how to. I can read like a menu, at a restaurant, but like I really don't like enjoy it. I enjoy the food when it comes. But anyway, but when I'm recording an audiobook, it is a performance. So that's where I find the pleasure in it, is that it's a performance and changing voices for each character and different accents and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think last episode we were talking about how if there are things that you hear other people do that you like, go ahead and borrow them. Because that's not, I mean, if you borrow from one person, it's called plagiarism. But if you borrow from a bunch of people, it's called research. So I think as I look back into the guys that have really made it really nice for me over the years, because like I remember when I was a kid, my parents would put us to bed and they would throw on tape players. Yes, I'm dating myself a bit. They would throw on the tape player and they'd put a tape on and it was a book. And I just remember this guy that would read and just, I was transported. I could close my eyes and I could see everything that was happening. And I knew the characters that were talking. I could see everything. And so when I'm doing my readings, I want that for my people too. Because it's what got me, and it's all about sharing that passion. So if you're just reading and if you're just going through things and you're just like, in January, I got back to my hometown and I'm worried I'm going to see the same old faces and get back into the same old stuff. You're not communicating any energy and people are going to turn out. But if you come around and you're like, in January, I got back to my hometown and I am worried I'm going to see the same old faces and get back into the same old stuff. People can feel the emotion, they can feel the person, which is why character crafting and the performance is so important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like you said, like I mean, not taking, but being inspired by many different people. For one, Mr. Ballin on YouTube.
Who you kind of look a little bit like, which is interesting.
Well, I take that as a compliment. I just need to wear red flannel and a backwards hat.
At all times.
Like Mr. Ballin's a great, amazing storyteller, and he grinded so hard because he started in 2020, and he would come out with like 5 videos a week. And then once he got into like the millions of subscribers, he's like, okay, I'm just gonna do one a week. And now he's like an umbrella corporation for a bunch of other YouTubers. So I listen to him, the way he tells stories, and I listen to other people. Dougie, I can't remember his last name, Bedtime Stories, who's also part of.
I love bedtime stories.
They're underneath the Mr. Ballin umbrella, man.
I love them so much.
Yeah, and so I listen to a lot of stuff that's narrated or storytelling, and I'm like, I'm better than that person, or I'm like, I'm not as good as that person, but I will be.
I like to hear the people and things that they do, and I'm like, oh, I like how he inflected with his voice, or oh, I like how this person paused there. Ooh, I really like how this person decided to hum a little bit or something. I love doing that stuff. I don't know how if this is a hot take or not, but I like to listen to people that sound terrible, so I know what to avoid. There's this one dude, I can't remember his name, but every time he talks, he sounds like this, and he does the same inflection with his voice at the end of his sentence. And after about 5 times of this, I want to punch myself in the face, and I really hate it, and I wish he would stop. And I think he's actually gotten famous because of doing that, or rather infamous, perhaps.
Yeah,
More
it's like
appropriate.
people watch it because they hate it or something. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where it's so bad it's good type thing.
It's like some sort of like audio version of masochism or something. I'm not sure. They're just like, I hate myself for listening. Let's do this.
It's BDSM in audio format.
Yeah, I guess that's just ASMR at that point, but in some sort of weird way. Please seek counseling if you feel like you need to talk to someone. You should. Okay, now we're
Yeah,
mentally.
BetterHelp is here for you. So, and it's really easy to switch therapists on BetterHelp too.
Yeah, just hang up, swipe right.
I think we just need to start plugging everything that YouTubers plug these days, and then maybe we'll get a sponsor.
That's
Raid
probably how it's
Shadow
done.
Legends, Raycon earbuds, Keeps for Men, don't lose your hair.
Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. But this is also ad specific based off of our Google search histories and such, so I don't know how much I want to. Erectile dysfunction is fixable. You can contact your doctor today. Side effects may include liver failure, kidney failure, shortness of breath, and death. Do not take this if you are allergic or dead.
Or dead. Yeah, like, do you want to not be dysfunctional, or do you want to maybe die? I don't know. That's a tough one.
They're the same. I'm already dead.
Yeah, like I said, what if you don't have a soul? You know, I'm already dead inside, so
If you don't have a soul, I would encourage a career in politics. Maybe the
yeah.
insurance world. I don't know. I guess that's kind of flavor of the week right now. This guy, this Italian dude, just went and did his thing.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Just threw down. There's such an interesting level of mixed reviews over that. Like most of the people I talk to are like, this dude's kind of a hero for doing this. And the rich people are like, it's just terrible. It's just terrible what he did. And you're just like, I don't know. Maybe CEOs should be afraid. Maybe governments should be afraid of their people, and people shouldn't be afraid of their governments.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I'm going on a bit of a Guy Fawkes tangent with it.
The scary thing is we're bringing shotguns to a drone fight.
True.
You know, like there's no chance for a. Even if you had all the, I don't know, maybe if you had all the people in America, but really, they got like heat guided missiles, bro.
I tell you, if they wanted me to just like not worry about it, they could just erase my student loan debt. That'd be fine. Like, oh, hey, and free healthcare. I'd be like, all right, you guys are corrupt, but I love you anyway. Thanks for taking care of what I give a shit about. I appreciate it.
Well, didn't Biden do something about student loan debt?
Yeah, no.
Oh, he just fell asleep in the middle of trying to do something.
Tried to, and then it didn't happen, and then yeah. Everyone's like, we can't erase all this made up money and all these fictional numbers. It could be catastrophic. We'd have to invent other numbers and make up a bunch of other things that don't exist. Can you imagine what that would do to our economy?
Great Scott, that would be awful.
The American people could not last longer, and as such, I commit to doing nothing for another 4 years.
Yeah, because that's exactly how Biden sounds.
He does. He doesn't talk.
Yeah, he sounds just like JFK.
It's a mess.
Do not ask what your government can do for you, but ask what you can do for your government.
You do not know it, but you are full of stars.
Jeez. Well, you know, it's good to practice accents too, you know. The last book I did. Yeah, we're going to get into that into a different episode.
In new episodes. So if you see this episode and you can think of a cool accent that you would like us to emulate and show you how to do, put it in the comments, and we will totally check up on that and rock and roll. And I know we are a channel that actually checks our comments and we respond and engage with our people. So please feel free, engage with us. We want to see you and talk to you.
We want to see your beautiful faces.
I would love to hear the words that come out of your mouth.
Whatever you decide to write, we're probably going to read.
So in a really roundabout way, circling back to the differences between performing versus reading, y'all can see there's a pretty big line in between them. I guess in a nutshell, to sum it up, I would say don't be that kid sitting at the desk being like, and there was a pony and there was a big orange that the pony held. If that's how you read and if that's the best you got, keep working. Keep growing.
Don't read out loud if that's the best you've got. No.
But if you're trying to, if you're trying to get into voice work, hop in and add some soul, put some you into it.
Well, this reminds me, when I was in high school, my senior year, I was in night school because I was truant. I didn't go to
So they
school.
made you like ride on horseback and put on armor and have
Yeah.
dances and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. No, so what would happen is like instead of like I don't know if anyone else had this in school, but you'd be like reading and then you'd say like popcorn so and so and then
I
they
love
read.
popcorn. Oh
No.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I
yeah.
love popcorn, dude. Popcorn's what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's good, with that movie theater butter. But anyway, no, the teacher at night school, one day she's like, Matt, will you just read like the next few pages? You just have a great reading voice. And then the girl next to me turns to me and she's like, you really do. I'm like, let me have your number. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But it was all mostly just because I paid attention to um, punctuation.
Yeah. It's surprising, but a lot of people don't look at those weird little dots and commas and squiggles on the page.
Well, and I was afraid to be embarrassed if I read horribly.
Mm.
So, like, I would take all my acting chops and all of that because I feel like personally, I'll be more embarrassed if I do something awful than if I do something good. Like, whether it's acting or reading out loud or whatever. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it just reminded me of that. That was probably one of my first, like, hey, maybe I should read for money.
Yeah. I've always been really grateful for having the talents and the blessings that I've had for to have the aptitude to read and to speak in front of people. But even still, I have messed up on so many things these days. It's like I kind of embrace the chance to try my best at something. And if it's not good enough, or if there's something I have to learn and somebody's going to be like, hey, you could have done this better here, or maybe you should do this here. I'm always going to listen, always, because how else are you going to get better? I feel like it's just so important to mess things up a little bit. It's important to have that authentic experience and to be open to growing, because that's how you grow. And it's only failure if you don't do anything about it. If you keep going, it's called growth.
Well, yeah, kind of circling back to how many auditions it took me. Like to get a book, it's like if you just keep going, you grow, you get better. But I'll do the same thing too. I'll say to like authors, I'll be like, hey, is there a certain direction you want me to go in, or do you like how this character sounds? And I'm like, I'm
Yes.
very open to constructive criticism. Like, please let me know if there's something else I can do. Luckily, they're like, no, you're just perfect. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
I'm just really glad that you brought this up, because I feel like that's a really important part of the initial process when you first get the contract that you get. Is what I'll do, tell me if yours is different, but what I will do is I'll go and I'll read either the whole book, or I will read a big chunk of it. And then once I've got a feel for what I think the character should be like, or the characters in most cases, I'll reach out to the author and say, hey, I noticed this is our setting. This is our theme of the book. This is what we're talking about. And so I kind of see the character this way, and I see the character like this and this and this. What do you think? And always make sure you don't say, is it good enough? Don't say a yes, no question. You got to have it open-ended to, foster that discussion. But then the author will always get back to you and be like, yeah, well, I thought about this and maybe this and this. And like this current book that I'm working on, it's an H.P. Lovecraft book, which I'm totally geeking out about this thing every time I work on it.
nice.
But I reached out to the author and I was like, hey, this is H.P. Lovecraft we're talking about. And that means we're in Arkham, and we're in New England, and we're in the Boston area. So I'm thinking like some New England Bostonian kind of style accents. And he got back to me and he goes, yeah, I agree with that. He's like, I don't want it to be too harsh though. So then I went out and I did a bunch of research on different, dialects and Bostonian accents, and I found an older one that I felt would fit the time period, right? Because it's early 19th century, late 19th century kind of the setting. And so I hit him with it. I was like, well, do you know what the Boston Brahmin accent is? And he goes, I have no idea. So I actually made a cutting of a little voice reel that I made, and I sent it to him. I said, well, what do you think about this? And he goes, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted, but I just didn't know how to describe it. And it's like, good. And the main character of this book, I'll say it here because it's the podcast. I actually modeled after Hannibal Lecter, which a lot of people don't know uses a Boston Brahmin accent in Silence of the Lambs. So when we're speaking, I had it nice and gravelly and this way because I wanted it to be creepy enough that you could understand and be put off just enough when he spoke.
It's like very airy too. It's a lot of air. Yeah, very airy and creepy.
It incorporates a lot of pauses and the hang because then you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
and it's perfect. It works out perfect for H.P. Lovecraft. Is supposed to be supernatural, terrifyingly scary kind of stuff. Who's more scary than Hannibal Lecter? Boom. I nerd out so hard on this stuff. I think it's half the fun of it is creating the characters that you create.
Well, you were saying that you read most of the book or whatever first. See, I have a problem. I don't even read ahead. And I really should. I should read the book. But like I said earlier, I just don't enjoy reading.
I ain't gonna tell a man how to run his business, you know.
But I should. I know I should. I know I should read at least a few chapters ahead.
At least a chapter. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Just, even if you do just one chapter, because then you can kind of see where things are going. You can kind of start setting into lead-ups.
Yeah.
At least a chapter ahead is
I
the way to
know.
do it.
Unless the chapter is only like a minute long.
Then you should read that whole book.
Yeah.
And record it all, chop it, send it, never work with that author again.
Except I have another book.
No.
Except I already have another book for the.
Not too late. It's not too late. Edit your contract. Oh, sorry, I went past the submission date. Darn.
I'm way past the submission date already, too. But I just stay in contact with them. I'm like, hey, sorry, it was Thanksgiving and stuff. I'm working on it, I swear.
Well, good, because I had another 12 chapters to add on. It's only one page.
Yeah, how frustrating.
Well, in the summation of everything, get into your character, get into your performance. Don't read, perform. Show everybody what they're reading. Bring that book to life. Do a little time to craft your characters and be aware of their needs and motivations and the theme of the book and the impact.
Paint that picture in someone's mind of what you're, Yeah.
Breathe. Make your breathing shallow. Take little quick breaths. Don't take huge ones. If you need to turn your head so you're breathing away from your mic, do that. Also, pop guards eliminate a lot of breathing stuff. But yeah, in the end, just be tenacious. Learn. Listen to people that you admire and try to emulate things that you see them do. Practice. This is like one of those things where you sing in the shower. Do voices. When you're talking to your friends, don't be afraid. Just have fun with it because you only stand to grow.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure we've covered everything we were planning out to cover. So another great episode.
It is. Yep. On behalf of everyone here at Two Voices, One Mic, myself, Tyler K, and Matt, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to listen to us here on YouTube, on Riverside FM, or on Spotify. Give us a like, share, a follow, tell your friends. And we will see you all next week for another beautiful episode of Two Voices, One Mic.